After begging to get married for 5 years, I don't think I want it anymore after him finally changing his mind. Apologies in advance for how long this is. I don't have anyone to speak to about these matters and my blood has literally been boiling. My 25F boyfriend, technically fiancé I guess, 26M, and I have been dating for roughly 9.5 years. We have our own place and 2 kids. One I had when I was 20, unplanned, and the second we just recently had after him insisting he wanted a second kid. Through all of this, he vehemently refused against getting married. In the long run, this wasn't a huge deal breaker to me. Growing up, I had never wanted to be married anyways. I simply wanted to have the same last name as my children. But he was adamant I was just trying to take all his money. I told him to get a prenup. He said that wasn't a thing. I eventually gave up and fully accepted it was never going to happen. Well, with this last pregnancy, he randomly changed his mind. As I neared the end, he started talking about just going to the courthouse, which I had suggested in the past, but he had shot down. He never asked me to marry him or any of that. Just a few days after our second was born, he woke up and decided that day we were going to the courthouse for a marriage license. At the time, I was excited if it a little indifferent, as I had long since settled on the idea of never getting married. As we are going through the paperwork and planning what little ceremony we want to have, if any, certain things he's done recently have me doubting if this is a good idea to begin with. Firstly, I was raised in a pretty strict home life. If my interests weren't practically approved by my parents, they weren't allowed. He knew this as we grew up and hated it, constantly telling me I'm my own person, and if we ever had kids, they'd be allowed to do what makes them happy, not only what we think they should do. Well, now it seems to be the opposite. We were driving the other day, and I saw a sign for dance classes. Our oldest loves dancing around the house and is constantly asking us to watch her dance and take videos. It was only a 3-week class, and I suggested it may be a good idea. He looked at me like I was crazy and started with why would we let our kids do something that didn't teach them any real-world skills? I found that odd, as I myself am an artist and a writer, things that don't involve the real-world skills he's talking about. When I pushed back that she really loves dancing, he got kind of annoyed with me. He started saying he didn't want his daughter to be like every other basic female dog who says, "Oh, I did dance." I was severely taken back by this comment, as he was basically calling a bunch of young children female dogs, and in my mind insinuating if our daughter did dance, she was a basic female dog. I muttered something under my breath that I don't even remember, as I was dumbfounded. He didn't hear me and asked me to repeat myself, but I just brushed him off. This has happened before, as she also loves climbing and doing somersaults around the house, but it's easy for her to get hurt, so I suggested we put her in gymnastics so she could do these things more safely. He shot it down in quite the same manner. Secondly, when we had our first, it was basically solely my decision to keep her. So, when she was born, I did it all myself. Everything. When he decided he wanted a second, he went on and on about the whole pregnancy. He couldn't wait to be more hands-on. How he'd help make sure I got sleep at night, and he would help with anything I asked. Maybe I'm just dumb, or maybe he came off so genuine I truly believed him. But our second child is here now. I've done all the waking at night, all diaper changes, 99.9% of feedings, bathing, on top of all the housework and cooking and everything important involving our oldest. While in general I'm very capable of doing all of this, I find myself bitter and angry. Why tell me you'll do all this help and then not even try in the slightest? And when I do ask for help with the baby, he gets frustrated so quickly that I just become even more angry. Example, I asked him to hold the baby for 5 minutes while I made myself a sandwich after he ate dinner and decided to lay in bed. The baby gets particularly fussy after 6 to 7 o'clock, and it makes it hard to do anything while holding her. I put her in the bed with him, and not even a minute after leaving the room, I hear him huffing and puffing at her that he doesn't know what she wants and only so many things could be wrong. He frustratedly asked if I had changed her, and I told him I had changed her right before giving her to him. But since she wasn't just calmly laying in bed with him while he looked at his phone, he was annoyed. So I just went back in and took her back. It's not fair for him to get all frustrated with her for simply being a baby. I didn't make my sandwich, and 30 minutes later, he asked me if I wanted him to make it for me. At that point, I'm over it and told him I'm not hungry anymore. He proceeded to ask why I wasn't, which I just replied I'm not, and then he told me to stop being ridiculous. These are examples from just the past weekend. On top of this all is his inability to clean up after himself, allotting any of his messes to our oldest, and if she won't do them or I decide it's unnecessary for her to do it, I do it. Or him deciding that certain tasks that inconvenience others when they come to our home aren't his problem because he doesn't care. Implying he should do it himself is met with the usual, "Well, I work all week." He works 4 days a week, 11 to 8. All other time is spent fishing or sleeping, or moping around the house cause he's bored. Him constantly talking down on literally everyone and everything. His friends, his family, even things I'm interested in like games and music, he will talk down on. From it's unnecessary, it's weird, it's stupid, they're stupid, pathetic, to even one time telling me I'm a degenerate like his friends during an argument. If it's not something he agrees with 100% or one of his hobbies, he is extremely hateful or judgmental. He has not always been like this, as it's mainly started over the last year or less. He gets extremely angry over the most minor inconveniences, baby ducks not being easy about getting in their pen. Saying he hates how animals don't let him help them, cause why would any baby animal let someone stomping and yelling help them, and gets frustrated with our oldest for normal things for her age. I get frustrated with her too, so it's not simply that, it's how angry and rude he gets with her when he's frustrated. Example, she will say dad over and over until he looks at her. He immediately snaps. I've tried telling him she's young. If she sees you staring at your phone and not acknowledging you heard her, she's gonna keep saying it until she knows you're listening. I'm an extremely understanding and laid-back person. I believe everyone's interests and life decisions are their own, especially outside our home, so to get visibly angry and let them ruin your mood is completely unnecessary. I believe our children should be able to pursue whatever interests they please as well as life skills. But life skills shouldn't decide what they are and aren't allowed to enjoy. It takes a lot for me to hate someone or anything. So for him to constantly be so hateful and bitter really puts me off. It makes me worry for how he'll continue to handle our daughters as they get older. As my stepdad controlling my interests based on his own personal beliefs drove an extreme wedge between the two of us. Then at the end of the day, after constantly behaving like this, he's constantly in a mood. Groping me constantly even when I'm cleaning, waking me up to try and get me in the mood when I already get 4 to 5 hours of sleep on average a night, and just making comments I don't even know how to react to. Due to all of the above behavior, I'm literally never in the mood anymore. I don't even think about it. But I can't tell him no or I'm not in the mood because then I have to deal with him being in a mood and then the possibility of an argument that I'm too distant and he takes intimacy very seriously. I don't want pity. I know the easy answer a million people will give is just to leave. I'm just at such a loss and have found myself so angry over the last day I had to get it off my chest. Even if it's to the void of Reddit, as there's no one in my life I feel safe discussing this with. Other than not helping with the important things and being short-tempered, he is a good father with our oldest. They go fishing constantly and roughhouse a lot and she loves it. And I only don't say he is with our youngest as she is in my arms 99% of the time, and he doesn't really interact with her other than holding her for a few minutes to say hi. But he loves them both more than life itself. I simply just can't see myself dealing with his attitude for the rest of our lives anymore and believe he has become too much of a different person to the point we are two polar opposites and not the type that mix together well. I believe we only don't butt heads because I know no opinion truly matters besides his own, so I just keep my mouth shut after years of us constantly arguing. Story 2. AITA for not giving my former sister-in-law the necklace I had made from my wedding rings from my deceased husband. When I, 27F, was 22, I got married to my high school sweetheart who passed away 5 months after we married when a drunk driver drove into his car. It took me a while to take off my rings, and when I did, I didn't want them to just sit in a drawer forever. So, I took them to a jeweler and had his and my rings melted down and used the gold and the stones to make a pendant and some small stud earrings. I have the earrings in my jewelry box and I wear the necklace every day. 1, because I like the way it looks, and 2, because I like the idea of having a tangible part of him with me always. Last month, my boyfriend, 34M, of almost 2 years, proposed to me and I said yes. I keep in touch with my former SGL, 29F, who we will call Ava, and last weekend she invited me out for drinks. We caught up a bit before she congratulated me on my engagement. She then asked me if she could have my necklace since it would mean more to her as his sister than it would to me now that I was getting remarried and moving on. Which honestly stunned me that anyone would outright ask for something like that. I told her I would think about it and moved the conversation along, but went home shortly after as it was just awkward. I just want to make it clear that it is not an heirloom piece or overly expensive. It was a small emerald ring that we found on holiday at a local jeweler, and I fell in love with it. I told my best friend, F28, about it, and she said that it seemed strange that I was still so attached to it given its history and my new engagement. She thinks that I should probably give it to Ava as it would mean more to her, and I should shed anything from my old life and embrace my new one. She said that I should get a new necklace and make new memories, and that she would go with me, or I could ask my fiancé. But the thing is, yes, I have moved on, and I am completely happy in my relationship, and I am so excited for the life we are creating together. But a part of me will always have love for my former husband and mourn him and the life that we could have had together, and I don't think that that takes away anything from my new relationship. They are different loves and lives. But now it feels silly to me that I have conveyed all this into a necklace. My fiancé says he does not care, and he knows that I love him and our life together, and understands that I will always have some level of grief, and that he loves how I have loved and keep loving and how I embrace life and people because of my experience. Sorry that my English is bad. It is my only language, and I have no real excuse, but I work night shift. I think that it lowers my brain function sometimes. So, AITA for not wanting to give my former SAL my necklace? Edit. Thank you to everyone who commented. Reading through the comments made me cry, and I do intend to respond to them. I just feel a bit overwhelmed by all of the kindness. I am a longtime lurker of Reddit, so this is all very new to me. I want to thank those who corrected me. Late husband is the term I was trying to think of but couldn't when I wrote this. I find it really hard to word everything about my late husband like the term moved on feels very casual and inaccurate, but I am not sure what is an accurate way to say it. But I am keeping my necklace. I just wanted to clear up that my best friend is really one of the most incredible people. She is my rock, and a big part of why I am still around and not locked away somewhere. Hospital, prison. It felt like it could have gone either way for a while there. She and my mom tag-teamed me after the accident and made sure I ate and would just sit with me in silence. She found a grief support group and would drive me there and wait for me in the car park when meetings finished. And what I could never repay her for was how she stood so strongly for me during the court hearings. I had never felt such pure, unadulterated hatred towards anyone or anything as I did to that driver, and she held my hand through it all and helped me get through it. She let me sit in my grief and anger, but didn't let it consume me. It felt like my brain snapped, and she helped me stick it back together, but like that Japanese art style where they repair broken vases with gold so it is broken, but when it is put back together it is stronger and more beautiful. I don't know where I would be without her because she didn't have to do any of what she did. I don't like the way she worded what she said, but she has always been the type that after a breakup she tosses away any reminders of her ex. I've gone with her to buy new clothing to replace ones that hold vivid memories. I think what some of the comments say is right, and that she compares the grief she has experienced from breakups to what I have experienced. Which, while you can't compare grief because grief is grief, the experiences are worlds apart. Ava really isn't a bad person. She was my sister for years. I used to absolutely adore her. After I turned 19 though, before 19 she thought me and her brother were brats. But after the court hearings my former MIL, FIL, and to an extent Ava cut contact with me because seeing me brought back many memories, which I understand, but it hurt me deeply because they were a big part of my family since I was 15. Ava and I still kept in contact, but it was more of a holiday and birthdays kind of thing with the occasional drinks and dinner. So, while I still have a lot of love for her, our relationship has changed drastically, and her asking me what she did and how she worded it was really not in the realm of anything I thought she would say or ask of me. She does have some of my late husband's belongings, like things from his childhood and knickknacks, and some clothing, so I don't understand why she would think to ask for my necklace. I am going to take advice from the comments and talk to her and try to figure out where she is coming from. Reading the different perspectives has really helped me think more clearly and feel a little less hurt by what she said. Because of our history, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt at first, but if she pushes the topic, then I will have to make some choices. I am not sure how I am going to word it yet, or if I want to say it via text or in person, but I will figure that out. Grief is really strange and hard and isn't something you understand until it happens to you. What kind of helped me to understand and made me feel like I wasn't losing my mind was the visualization that your soul is like a bubble that grows with you and your experiences and relationships, and you are just floating around in it. Good experiences and relationships add things to the bubble that make it beautiful, like little bits of glitter and flowers and fluffiness. Bad things add spikes and staples, and grief is like one big spike that when it first strikes goes from one end to the other and encompasses everything, and you bump up against it all the time at first, and it just really hurts. Then time passes and your bubble grows around the spike. The spike is still there, but you don't touch it as often, but when you do it hurts just as bad as the first time. But the upside to that is the good things like joy, like when you think of someone you love and it's all fluffy and safe and nice. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but it has always helped me to remember that fresh, fiery pain won't feel like that forever, and that I will bump up against something fluffy and kind and happy. You can even fall in love again, which I am so lucky and grateful for my fiancé. He is truly a gem, Dasun, of a man, and makes me feel so safe and warm, which is a feeling that I didn't feel for a long, long while. But just always make sure the people you love know that you love them. Give them extra hugs. Go and see or call that person you have been meaning to. This only goes for the people who deserve to be in your life. Always leave things on a pleasant note. Even if you are arguing, you don't even have to make up. Just make sure your parting words are pleasant and loving. Because you really never know when something could happen. You always think you have time. My goal in life is to have my relationships with people in such a way that my final words won't have to be told. I love them because they will already know. Comments. One Redditor wrote, NTA. At all. Your former husband was a huge part of your life. You loved him, and a part of you always will. Your relationship with him and losing him has shaped you into who you are today, the person your current partner loves so much. Moving on with your life, even remarrying, does not mean letting go of the past and acting like it never happened or had a major impact. It's not the same thing, but I have a stuffed leopard that was a gift from an old boyfriend. We dated from when I was 13 till I was 21. He was a year older than me. We didn't break up. He was killed in a car accident. That leopard is a constant reminder of him, of all the good times we shared, of the impact he had on my life, an amazing way for me to remember him while still living my life. I'm 37 now, so it's been a lot longer since I lost him than it's been since you lost your former husband. We were never married, but only because it wasn't legal back then. We would have been if we could have been. We talked about starting a family, kids via adoption or surrogacy. We had a whole future planned out. My life is very different from what I planned back then, and not just because he's no longer in my life. I've chosen to remain child-free, for a start. Not because I don't want kids, but because I have issues that will make me a bad dad in a lot of ways. Keeping that leopard doesn't mean I haven't moved on with my life, though I have. I've had other relationships, only 2, and one was abusive, but still. I live in a completely different place. My life goals have changed. But I still want to remember my old boyfriend and cherish those memories and acknowledge the way my relationship with him shaped me. What you have is a necklace and a pair of earrings, a way to keep your former husband with you in a physical sense. He's never going to leave you. He was too big a part of your life. Anyone you have a relationship with has to accept the place he has in your life, whether you have a physical reminder or not. Your partner has accepted that he understands and isn't threatened by your love for your previous husband. It also seems weird to me that it's the necklace, specifically, that your former SIL wants, not only because it's like she's trying to erase her brother from your life, but because that necklace was made from your engagement and wedding rings. It's kinda weird that she wants those specifically, like she's acting as if she's the widow instead of the sister. It's impossible for that necklace to mean more to your former SIL than it does to you, purely because there is zero emotional attachment to those rings or the necklace they became from anyone but you. You're literally the only person that necklace means anything to. Keep the necklace, continue wearing, hold your memories of your lost love close, even as you move on in life with a new love. Your partner sounds like a great guy. This isn't going to cause issues between the two of you. All it does for your partner is prove that you love deeply and remain loyal to your love and memories. I'd say the way you've dealt with the rings is a green flag for a relationship, keeping the lost love and memories close, but still showing an openness for a new love, because you're not still wearing the rings as rings. You repurpose them. Tell your former SIL that you can't give up something with such strong sentimental value with so many memories attached, especially to someone with zero attachment to the necklace or the rings it came from. I'm sure your SIL has other items, with actual sentimental attachment, to remember her brother by. She doesn't need your personal possessions on top. Moving on and finding a new love doesn't erase or replace the love and life you had with your first husband, and no one should expect it to. And your friend is weird for thinking the only way to move on is to act like the past never happened and give up all reminders of the people you loved and impacted your life in amazing ways. Those people should always be remembered and acknowledged, not forgotten and replaced. So, keep the necklace and earrings, and good luck with your new marriage. You're off to a great start having such an understanding partner. Opie replies, "If I could hug you through a screen, I would. I wish you all the best, I really do. Thank you." Another one wrote, NTA. 1. It is completely normal and reasonable for you to cherish something that ties you to an important time and relationship in your life. Having loved your husband, who passed away, does not mean you love your fiancé any less. He's a good man that he understands this. Don't listen to anyone who tells you that you are supposed to erase a very important part of your life. It is part of what has made you who you are today. 2. There is no reason for former SIL to think that your wedding rings, reformed into the earrings and pendant, would mean more to her than to you. It was and remains a reminder of the relationship and the bond that you and your deceased husband had. Your SIL could only cherish that part of the jewelry came from her brother, not that it was ever meant for her, not that it reflects any aspect of her relationship to either you or her brother. 3. You had reshaped your cherished tangible into something you could wear in daily/often. It doesn't scream wedding or marriage to someone else, to the world. It is something you can wear even as you are building a life with your fiancé. I don't know why your former SIL has latched onto your jewelry as something she would cherish. Was there nothing else of his that she had more connection to, that she could have kept? Is it possible that she values it for its beauty and some value, and thought that you getting married again might be an opportunity/excuse to ask for it? Not that you have to know why. Your answer remains perfectly appropriate. Opie replies, "That's the thing though. She and my former in-laws do have a fair bit of his belongings to remember him by. Things like some of his clothing like jumpers and his belts and some hats, his car. It was a manual and I like my autocross hills, childhood items, CDs and vinyls, and some other stuff. So, I think that just adds to why her asking me just really threw me off. You do make good points. Thank you, smiley face." One Redditor wrote, "NTA, wildly inappropriate of sister to ask and insensitive of your best friend to agree. I realize that at your age very few people have lost a spouse. Heck, a lot of people haven't even gotten married yet, so she's probably thinking of it more as a symbol of an ex-BF. But that's still incredibly ignorant. You never broke up with this person. You both still loved each other. You planned to spend the rest of your life with this person, and that was taken from you through no fault of either one of you. That is very different from getting dumped by your first love and him still existing out there somewhere. If your dad died and your mom remarried, no one would expect you to give all your sentimental gifts from your dad to your aunt." Opie replies, "Thank you. I never really thought about it that way. It's true. People expect widows to be grandma-aged and baking cookies, not 22-year-olds. And you're right. In a way, it's only natural for people to try and use their lived experience when trying to relate to someone, even if that experience is completely different. Not to downplay other people's grief and sadness, it's just different types." Well, this is the end of these stories. So, what you guys think? Should Opie in the first story confront her husband about his recent behavior? What about the Opie in the second story? If you guys have any thoughts or suggestions or an interesting story of your own, do share that in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the story, do like this video and subscribe to our channel. You guys can also support us by checking out the links in the video description and the channel's About section. You can watch these videos in the meantime. Hope you guys have a good day. Goodbye.